what is so powerful about the uncommitted vote is that even though there was not necessarily a competitive primary for Democrats, those voters still went to vote, knowing that Biden's name was the only name during the primary to show that we want a permanent ceasefire. We want them to adhere to the Leahy Law, which is very clear about giving weapons to countries that are violating the human rights. And the fact that the uncommitted movement is still going very strong. In Michigan, you brought up Michigan, 100,000 voters plus voted uncommitted. And if we go and travel to the great state of Wisconsin, about 50,000. And there have been hundreds of thousands of people across the country who got out of their bed, even though there was only one thing on the Democratic ballot, and voted uncommitted. So they're making waves right now, and I think the uncommitted movement is very much responsible for some of the rhetorical messaging that is coming from the Harris Walz campaign right now. We want to move that rhetoric to reality.
Excellent. And not only the uncommitted movement, but the trade union movement too is coming out huge in support of a ceasefire. And I just saw recently 7 national unions, the UAW, the teachers, SEIU, the postal workers, are calling on Biden to have an arms embargo on Israel. Are you seeing labor in your circles really move on this issue?
Yeah, I am. I mean, the UAW is definitely represented in Ohio. I was just with the Black Caucus of the Teamsters for their education conference in Vegas. There were people there from all over the country, including Cleveland, Ohio there. The trade unionist movement has been very vocal and very clear-eyed about the moral reasons why they must call for a ceasefire. Very proud of them, and now calling for an embargo. They represent millions. If we combine them all, it's well over 7 million people represented by the trade unionists on this, and they have not flinched. We know that it came out in the media that the UAW was kind of threatened by some governmental folks about why y'all got to call, just clamp down on that. And they exposed the threat, and I'm glad that they did, and they have not relented in the call. As a matter of fact, the call is being enhanced as we're having this conversation about not only permanent ceasefire, but let's have an embargo on the weapons that are being sent.
So in Michigan, where I'm from, there were 4 protests planned in all the major cities in Michigan, and then it became a national movement called Not Another Bomb.
Yes.
And they're going to plan on being a part of the March on the DNC happening tomorrow. Do you think these protests will have an impact on your policy?
Because the people who are protesting for peace, mind you, because the mainstream media sometimes spins it a different way. This is for peace. They are voters. And if Democrats want to win, I am a member of the DNC, quiet as kept. I'm in it, but not of it. I don't worship parties, I worship God, and I support the people. So I was at, when college students, Case Western Reserve college students, I want to shout them out, when they were having their pro-peace encampments, I was able to go there and be right with them. We are seeing that the movement itself, not one more bomb, uncommitted, just people who are just want to be a part of the pro-peace, are going to push the Democrats to do the right thing. They're not going to do it just because it's the right thing to do. No great movement, no great social, political, economic change that permeates the soul of this country has ever been done because people with power said, I think I want to do the right thing. They've been forced to do it. Ordinary people putting a little extra on their ordinary to make extraordinary things happen. That march that is going to happen tomorrow in Chicago at the beginning of the DNC convention is not different from the March on Washington for jobs. For jobs and freedom. It's the same thing. It's the same Black Lives Matter. It's the same force for justice that is moving this time right now. So if the DNC, if the Harris Walz campaign doesn't move on this, it will be at the peril of the Democrats. They will not win in November unless they marry their rhetoric with some real, with a real commitment to ending, to putting an embargo to the bombs. I'm proud of the movement. Make a demand and make sure there's a consequence for not adhering to the demand.
Some in the broad left are saying, we can't defend democracy and we can't defeat fascism without first defeating this foreign policy, without getting a ceasefire, without potentially getting an arms embargo. Without that, we can't defeat fascism. Is that how you see things?
No, I do see it. I mean, there is a nexus between neoliberalism and neo-fascism. I often say neo-fascism kills you quick neoliberalism kills you slow. And the rise of neo-fascism, in my opinion, is because of the rise of neoliberalism, that having a vacuum in terms of taking a firm stance about human rights. We mentioned off camera, the speech that I gave about what happens over there happens over here. Over there is Gaza, right? But over there is also the Sudan. Over there is around the street, around the corner, right here in Chicago, where people are dying every single day. Over there is Flint, Michigan. Over there is Jackson, Mississippi. Over there is the Sudan. Over there is Haiti. Yes, in order to defeat neo-fascism, we got to defeat neoliberalism. And just for our viewers who might not quite understand what neoliberalism is, it is about keeping the status quo. It is about nibbling around the edges. Time out for incrementalism. That's what neoliberalism represents. Incrementalism. And it has caused a stirring for faux populism that President Trump represents, that Senator J.D. Vance represents, to take hold in this country. Democrats have an opportunity to shatter that by changing policy, not just our foreign policy, but our domestic policy, to answer the needs of the people who are hurting the most in the United States of America. If they do not do that, neo-fascism will continue to rise. You know, I liken it to, I want people to think about being in the ocean and needing somebody to come save you. Now, God forbid. But do you want somebody to incrementally come and save you? Do you want somebody to have to take a focus group pulse before they come save you? You want them to poll, are you worthy of being saved? Or do you want somebody who's going to radically get in that water and say, I don't care what nobody else says, you are worth saving? That's the kind of politics we need right now.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you, baby, too.